Does the government work for us, or do we work for the government? What is it about government that it always grows and it never shrinks? Tonight, why Mitt Romney would be government as usual. For those of you who are regular viewers of Freedom Watch, you know that on this show, your night watchman watches the government. Oh, there are times when the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or the Washington Post have filled that role. They've done so by revealing fraud or unlawfulness or deceit or waste in governments with which they disagree. That's why you hear so much more today from the Wall Street Journal and why you heard so much more from the Times and the Post when George W. Bush was in office. I am not impugning the integrity of my colleagues at other venues. But it is true, Republicans tend to see the speck in the eye of Democrats first, and Democrats tend to see the speck in the eye of Republicans first. And since both parties are essentially on the same page on the welfare state, the warfare state, and big government, the opposition press tends to pick nits rather than substance. But Freedom Watch is neither Republican nor Democratic. Freedom Watch is essentially like the Founding Fathers, like Thomas Jefferson, like John Locke and Thomas More, mistrustful of all government. That is not to say that Freedom Watch wants no government, but it is to say that your night watchman wants minimal government for all of us. I suspect that unless you receive an entitlement from the government, unless you work for it or unless you sell to it, you agree with me. That leaves only about half the country to agree, as the other half of the country, as in half, receives entitlements or salaries or other payments from the government. That includes those receiving personal welfare, those receiving back money that they were forced at one point in their lives to pay to the government, those receiving corporate welfare, and the arms merchants and others who sell to the government in secret. The elites in this country want none of this to change. They are the folks who run both political parties and Wall Street and much of the media. They are the folks who are afraid that somebody might rock the boat. They want you to choose for president later this year from among two people, President Obama and Governor Romney, between whom there is not a dime's worth of difference. If there is any difference between them, it is that the president, constitutional scoundrel that he is, remains faithful to his central planning, big government values, while Governor Romney has no values except the elevation of himself. The former Massachusetts governor will literally say anything in order to get elected. He was in favor of abortion before he was against it. But when he favored it, he promised he'd never change. He originated the government micromanaging of health care. He believes in TARP, government stimulus programs, tax rates essentially where they are today, and the Federal Reserve printing cash. He wants to keep Gitmo open and expand it. He likes the Patriot Act, the new Defense Authorization Act that lets the president lock up Americans on a whim, and he thinks the president can lawfully kill Americans whom he finds are dangerous. Now, if you just turned your TV on, you might be thinking, who the heck is he talking about? Well, I'm talking about Governor Romney, but all of this applies to the president, too. That's why I said there's not a dime's worth of difference between them. They both believe in the progressive, New Deal, Great Society, big government values of bribing people with their own money. Bribe the poor with welfare, bribe the middle class with tax breaks, and bribe the rich with corporate subsidies. All this in order to win elections. So when Governor Romney tries to sound like Barry Goldwater, when he says he wants to shrink the government, no one in their right mind will believe him. Just as people by our nature need to be with other people, government by its nature expands. St. Augustine called this libido dominandi, the lust to dominate. We all have this lust within us. Government is the lawful outlet for the lust. Only men like Barry Goldwater and Ron Paul and Thomas Jefferson have demonstrated their seriousness about shrinking the government. The same Republicans who are complaining today about the president borrowing another $1.2 trillion are the very persons who voted back in August to give him the authority to do so. Mitt Romney approved. Think about your life 20 years ago. Is there more government in it now or then? The answer is probably more now. And that would be the same if the question was asked about 10 years ago or even 3 years ago. What can we do? We can elect a game changer, someone whose entire public career has been devoted to the premise that the best government governs least and stays within the confines of the Constitution and off the people's backs. Surely when you think of that, you don't think of Mitt Romney. I know who you think about. And he's in this race to stay. From New York, defending freedom, everybody's freedom, every night of the week. So long, America.